Hello and welcome to Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn. I'm your host, Jane Lynn Britton. Today's show is The Real Moms of Autism. We wanted to give you an inside peek into what it's like raising children with autism. Many of you may be parents with children, and so you're going to see that there are people out there that are very much like you. We have a lot of the same issues and challenges and struggles, as well as a lot of the same celebrations. So we hope that you're going to find community from this show. And those of you who don't have children with autism, our hope is that you're going to learn a little bit. Again, you're going to kind of see behind the scenes. We're going to talk about our challenges. You're going to see some pictures and learn about what we go through every day. And the reason we're sharing this with you is because we want you to understand us a little bit more. We want to bridge that gap. Right now, I'm going to guess that when you go out in the community, you probably don't see many children with autism. In fact, my experience is I take my son out at least every day. But it took me years to do that. He's now actually he's 17. He just turned 17. It took me about 5 or 6 years of living with autism before I felt comfortable doing that for lots of different reasons. It's challenging, thinking of everything I needed to bring with us or where we were going, where was the bathroom, what was the activity going to be, let alone how was that going to affect us because what were people going to think? What was the sound, the stimulation going to be like? It was so much that I couldn't get myself out there. And again, one of the biggest things that I was afraid of was you. What were you going to think? What were your judgments? And I just couldn't handle it. But now that I'm out there with my son, guess what? I don't see any other kids with autism. I don't live in a big city, but I live in a pretty big town. And where are they? I know where they are because I was the same way. They're at home or not wanting or feeling too challenged to go out. So we want to change that to help you get comfortable with what it's like, what we're like, so that when we get that comfort to go out, instead of looking and staring or wondering, you feel comfortable taking that step towards us to say hello, to open the door, or to say good job when our children do something. And that actually does more than you realize. Those small gestures can boost our confidence, give us that support, and make us want to go out even more. So today's show is really meant to give some support to other parents who are dealing with the same things we are, but also to educate and raise awareness so that those of you who want to get to know us more, this is your opportunity so that we can partner and support each other. I'm really excited to introduce you to two phenomenal women and mothers who have great stories and things they're going to share with you today, but are willing to take that step forward and share this publicly with you. My first guest is coming to us all the way from Australia. I found her on social media, and I loved her right away. Her handle is Autism Friendly Travel. And she talks about autism's in my family, but it's not going to hold us back from doing what we want to do. And I love that. So please join me in welcoming Ainslie Robinson. Hello, Ainslie.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
We are great. Thank you so much. So what time is it there in Australia?
It's about 9:30 a.m. in the morning.
9:30 a.m. So here we are, 5:30 p.m., Princeton, New Jersey. I love that we can do this. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. It's a weekday, and I know your son's at school. But you're a mom who works too, so I appreciate you taking this time with us. And
No, thank you.
Ainslie, you have a lot of great things you're going to share with us, but the first thing I wanted to ask you is something I haven't yet told our viewers, is that you have Asperger's yourself. And
That's right.
I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing with us what it's like to have Asperger's.
Okay. First of all, I didn't actually realize how differently my brain worked until I went to my son's diagnostic appointment. when he was 3. And when I was answering the diagnostic question for him, I realised I was answering the same for me. And because growing up in the 1980s, they weren't diagnosing really many people with Asperger's, let alone I think we compensate quite well. But after that, everything in my life that had happened beforehand suddenly made a lot of sense to me. So they were things like, as a child, my sister, who's socially adept, social butterfly, she had this way of looking up to children saying, "Hi, my name's Mary. I'm 4 years old. What's your name?" And this seemed completely bizarre and incredibly inane to me. But looking back, that's the way children generally make friends, and I couldn't do that. Other things that were interesting were my need for routine, repetition, and all of that. Everything that I see in my son mirrored from my childhood experience, with the exception he has a severe communication delay. So
that's interesting. I'm sorry you were breaking up just a little bit, but I think I heard most of what you said. So that's how interesting that you didn't realize it until you were learning more through your son and then recognizing things that you've done in the past. And I know from speaking with you, you talk about some sensitivities that you have. What are some of those things that challenge you every day?
that's right. So for me, sleeping's very difficult unless I have a lot of weight on me. Even in the middle of summer, I'll have a weighted blanket. In saying that, though, I I have a lot of tactile defensiveness, so I don't really do hugs except for with my immediate family. I don't like having my hair cut. That's something that I've learned to do myself after getting kicked out of a hairdresser and being told never to return when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's stuff. But with my son, it's very helpful because I can often tell what's going on with him because the context is very similar for me. So
Interesting.
it makes it, I think, a lot easier with him.
That's true because it gives you such different insight than I would have. I mean, after 17 years, I've learned a lot, but
Yeah,
you can almost feel the same things your son is feeling, which
pretty much. We have slightly different profiles. He's more of a sensory seeker. I'm more sensory defensive, which can be fun at times because he wants to climb on me and cuddle me. And at the end of the and I've got a very chatty daughter as well. She talks non-stop all day, and by the end of the day, I'll be like, "Oh, honey, I just need 5 minutes of quiet, please." And that can be a little tricky. But at the same time, I consider it a real advantage in some ways as well because I do generally understand what he wants, what he needs, and things like him wanting to do things a certain way, a very extremely particular way. I didn't even notice that odd until we started going down the diagnostic path. And because I do things exactly the same way, and I need things a very, very particular way. Making cheese sandwiches in my family is fun, especially for my husband, who doesn't necessarily need to do things a very particular way. So,
So how wonderful that you have that insight and knowledge and can support them both. And even your daughter, you understand what she needs if it's not something that's really what you would normally do. So you
yeah,
sound so flexible, which is a trait that any regular person has a hard time doing.
it for me that's a very learned skill. I'm not naturally a flexible person at all.
Well, Ainsley, all this leads me up to this really important question, and I just cannot believe you did this, but I would love to hear how you and your family did this or survived this, a 5-week trip to Korea and Japan. I mean, I couldn't
Yeah.
do 5 weeks, and I have one child. I don't even know that growing up without autism in my family, I could have done it. What did you do? What's your secret?
It, first of all, I should say it's equally parts amazing and tiring. And traveling with small kids, whether or not they're autistic, it's especially with my daughter's 2, nearly 3, that's challenging in itself. Um,
Yeah.
but they were champs. And I think some of the things that I do to make it successful is we factor in chill out days. So it's impossible to go at that pace, at that tourist pace, for 5 weeks straight. You need to sort of fit in days where you're sitting by a pool. We were there in winter, so it's an indoor heated pool.
Mhm.
Um, and having respect for my daughter's need to have days where she can just sit on the bed with her dad and colour and play with her iPad, and she's not expected to go out and do new stuff. We also do a lot of planning. So our whole trip, every day is planned what we're going to do ahead of time, because I find if everything's going to turn into a mess, it's going to be in those little chunk time that aren't planned and aren't structured. So, and also making sure that we have a home base that we stay in for at least 4 or 5 days at a time as well.
Well, that makes sense. So those are really good tips. So really planning ahead, don't be a
Mm-hmm.
tourist every single day, and having that home base so you're not always packing and unpacking and moving and all that. Now, you went to Disney, right?
Yeah, that was so fun.
Oh my gosh, how was that with how did you handle the lines, the people, the waiting? Because I know I was reading your blog, you're a blogger, and
Yeah.
you've been writing about this. So how did you handle the lines and the wait and the sensory issues for your children?
Um, the lines, I use the guest assistance pass at Tokyo Disney. It's pretty good, but the queues in Disney are like Disneyland California on steroids. They're
Really?
huge. They're really, really long. I've been to Anaheim before, and Anaheim has nothing on the Tokyo queues.
I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah, and every day of the year as well, even when it's bad weather. So, yeah, so it's a lot of, we use the guest assistance pass system, we use the fast passes, and if I do have to queue with him, popcorn. So I'll be in line with him while he's eating popcorn. I'll let him know that we have to wait, but we're doing this really motivating thing.
Smart.
And yeah, that kind of gets through.
Amazing. Yeah, that was smart. Really, thinking it through and using his motivation to help kind of distract him and keep him happy. That really works for
Yeah.
anybody. So that was really smart what you did.
A- Oh, and piggybacks. He loves piggybacks. So
Are you the one doing that if you're sensory defensive?
it is me. I've got 36 years of learning to deal with it. So
Wow, that is a wonderful thing. So like I mentioned, you are a blogger and you help people all over the world. I see you on Instagram, you do videos and Facebook. What has been your greatest insight or learning from doing that?
um, I think I've learned just how much some parents, I guess, find it a struggle in from worrying about other people's opinions when they go out in public. They really have difficulty with other people's opinions, which is something as an Aspie I don't really care about too much, to be quite honest. In saying that, I do like to set us up for as much success as possible. I don't want meltdowns on a plane. I don't want meltdowns in an airport. So I do my best to satisfy my part of in the community.
Right.
Um, saying that, if it all does go awry, life happens, and most people, I think, are more concerned about their business and what's happening with them rather than looking at you. But yeah, and I think that's really sad. I'd love to see more, because I don't see that many other kids in the community either, and that's what I really love to see.
Well, you are a role model and you're helping so many people by not only what you're writing through your blogs, but you're sharing on Instagram, Facebook, and probably Twitter. Um, and your handle is Autism Friendly Travel as well as, is there another one points and hacks?
There's the longer one, which is what it originally started out as, which is point hacks and autism-friendly
Right.
family travel, which is a mouthful.
It is a
Because
mouthful.
that's what it started off as, but people are more interested in how to do travel with autistic kids. So,
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you're doing this because, like I said, my hope is that more and more people will venture out. And through our experiences, we can teach the community around us how to support us and how to handle it. And I love that you don't worry about what people are thinking. I know you're not rude to them, but if we just go ahead and do our thing, we can support our children and we can teach others how to support us at the same time. So thank you for doing what you do.
thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really healthy snack. It is simply popcorn, but instead of buttered popcorn, why not use flax oil? It tastes just like butter, but it's healthy because it has omega-3s, fatty acids, and it's been known to help your brain, your heart, reduce inflammation, help with moods. It even helps your skin and your hair. So why not use this? It's so much healthier. And I promise you, I've served this to friends and family. No one knows it's not buttered popcorn. All you do is microwave your popcorn, put it in a bowl, pour on the flax oil, and I sprinkle a little bit of salt on top just to bring out the flavor. And that's it. And I promise you, no one will know. So if you're going to have a snack, let it be a healthy snack. I'd love for you to hear and also Ainslie meet our guest here in Princeton, Roomana Khan. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here. Now, it's nice to have you here in Princeton with us. We're on a Facebook group together,
Yes.
and I've seen you and your children going to some of the activities that the Mercer County, New Jersey, Mercer County Parents Autism, New Jersey. I always get that little tongue-tied. But there are a lot of activities I know that you have done with your children, and I was excited to talk to you and learn more about your passion and things that you're doing for your family. But first, please tell us and everyone a little bit about you and your son and your family.
Okay. Well, I have two sons. I have an older son who's 22, who is atypical, or whatever you want to call it. And he is just a recent graduate of college in December. I have a second son who has autism. He's 16. And both of them are a pleasure. This is the three of us, and we just roll with the punches every day.
Yeah, you do. Now, I know that you told me you're a realtor, and that you actually decided to be a realtor because you wanted to have that flexibility to support your son.
Right, because if anything happens at school, he was diagnosed around 3, and he went to a local school in Plainsboro, Capello. So if something ever happened, you really can't leave an office when you're a 9 to 5. You need that flexibility to just pick up your bag and go. When you get that call, there's nothing holding you back.
Right.
So I kind of enjoy that. And actually, when I started the real estate 14 years back, I used to take him to showing houses, whatever I needed. So that was the best part. And it kind of also gave him exposure, me exposure, also my clients exposure, and I let them know in advance that, we come as a package.
I love that. So already for a long time you've been out really modeling for everyone how to be out in the community with your family.
Right.
Which is what everyone is a normal thing for people to do.
Right.
But we don't see that with autism as much.
Right.
And now you also work with special education.
I do. For my township, I was lucky enough. I've always volunteered, but an opportunity came where I could work for special ed. And so, of course, I took it because you can't get that 24/7 everyday experience that I have. And then I can take my experience and apply it to my work also. So it gives me a little bit of different view of how a parent's feeling or how that child is feeling that day. It gives you a different type of empathy than somebody who's coming through who does not have that.
Exactly, and you're showing so much of your passion for understanding and living with autism, and not only helping your son but helping others.
Right.
And
You have
and
to advocate for not
Perfect.
only, I always advocate not only for my son, but all his friends. Anytime I advocate, I always say we're a group effort because we've been together. These kids have been together since maybe kindergarten or first grade. So they're
Right.
kind of family with each other also.
Well, they're so lucky to have you
Well,
because there's
thank
not
you.
everyone who will spend their time advocating and helping others in the
Thank
same
you.
way. Because let's face it, you have a lot on your plate, right?
Right.
This is like extra that you're helping others, so
Right.
that's wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
you're welcome. You talk about advocating, and I remember when I first spoke with you, you mentioned there were two things that you always advocate for your son, which is constant communication and pairing. So do you mind telling me a little bit more about why that's important to you and what you've seen
Sure.
that do?
I find communication is key to the success of any child. And I find that especially for mine too, because in the beginning the comprehension wasn't there, the language wasn't there. That is still coming through where he needs time to process and so on. But how his day was, if the teacher can communicate or any caregiver can communicate that, then it's easier for me to understand what he's trying to say than for me to take 2 days or just figure out one sentence what he's trying to say. At the same time, he's struggling and he's having maybe a behavior and he's frustrated. It's really not his fault because, he doesn't have the skill to do that.
Right.
So it's my job and the other person's job to help me communicate, help him communicate what happened. And the other thing with pairing is I've always believed that once you pair with the child, then you get to earn their trust. And I think Ainslie mentioned like how her son, she would keep him busy with popcorn. So my son's number one reinforcer, we call it, is the Doritos Cool Ranch, what used to be just called Blue Chips. So anytime when you're going somewhere, he loves to earn. So if we need a project done or we need to wait or something, I let him know, he can earn
Right.
something and he'll say, Blue Chips? I said, yep, Blue Chips.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, Roomana, would you mind sharing with us? I know you've had many twists and turns in your life. What has been your biggest challenge with autism?
I think our biggest challenge for all of us, and Ria especially, is transition. When we go from one place to another, it becomes a challenge. So I try to pre-teach a situation, or the other that we have pre-teach a situation, and now we have come to using the calendar, and which is a visual. We do it at school, we do it here. So if he wants something, or let's just say, he's earning a DVD for something, so he will put it down on what day it's coming, 3 days from now, or whatever. So he's something looking forward to, and that's visually he's ready to see what's going on. So transition was always a problem, but as time progresses, it's getting less and less, especially with the scheduling, it's helping a lot.
Did you try other things before the scheduling, or how did you land on that?
Well, we used to let him know, like in the beginning, they would put a schedule for him. But, as he's getting older, he's getting more independent. We're not going to be able to do that his whole life for myself. I won't be here. But so this way he can plan his day. So it's easier for him because, before it was, oh no, I missed writing. And then it's like a half an hour of meltdown. But now we don't have that. We now, oh, okay, we're going to go do this and then we'll come back to it. If not, he'll say, maybe a different day. We try next time.
Good. So he's learning some flexibility
Right.
in that whole process.
Right.
Wonderful. So you're finding things that he connects with and works with well and is motivated for.
Right.
And you see success with that.
Right.
And then he gets the reward, but also learns that flexibility. Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah. We're food-based,
Yeah.
A lot of people like either iPad and other things, but, we're bears. That's what my boys call me, Mama Bear. So my little cubs enjoy their little noms here and there. So we do that.
Well, I know it's hard because we go back and forth with food. And sometimes you just need that strong reinforcer.
Right.
The thing that's going to get them through. And especially at times that there may be a meltdown. and if you're going to be out in the community.
Right.
So we plan for how can we make it the most comfortable
Right.
and meaningful and successful
Right.
for everybody. And so sometimes that does involve food.
Right.
What would you say if you could share with all of our parents watching, what is the biggest insight or tip, let's say tip maybe, that you would, from all your experience, Riaz is 16. So what's the biggest tip you would say?
I would definitely tell all the parents, one, to definitely have a sense of humor. The other is every child is different. So take what you can from learning from here, going to workshops and other things, sharing ideas with parents, but then applying it and giving it your own twist to your own child, because you know your own child best.
Exactly.
Nobody knows anybody except you. And learn how to let them express themselves. And I also feel like every behavior, there's a reason for every behavior.
I do too.
And I've always saw that of Riaz. And I've been lucky enough to have a few teachers who have really supported me through these times.
I love that. I was going to ask you, what would you say to people who don't have kids with autism? I think that's a perfect one right there. Is we don't always understand, especially if you don't know autism, why our children are doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And I may not know why, but I know there's I know that there's something deep down inside that's bothering him,
Right.
or there's a stimulus. There's something that's causing it.
Something triggered it.
There's a trigger, exactly.
Yes.
And our immediate response is, let's make sure everything's safe, right?
Right.
And get things in control, and then we'll handle it and
Right.
try and remove the stimulus or the trigger if possible. But that would have been the thing I would have shared, is that there's always a reason that
Right.
something happens.
And they will tell you. They will tell you in their own time. Somehow, I think every child can communicate if you give them the time to let them
sure you.
express themselves.
Exactly. There's so much I want to talk to you about, as well as Ainsley, but we're out of time. That's what happens. But I do want to continue talking with other moms, real moms of autism. So you will start to see a series build so that we can start to share more and more about our challenges, our insights, our tips, and we can again bridge that gap. So thank you, Roomana,
Thank
for
you.
joining. And Ainsley, thank you for joining. It was wonderful, and I'd like to share that we have a really fun guest on our next show. He's a local dentist who is charismatic, and he does an amazing job of getting kids to either sit still or at least get proper dental hygiene. I can't wait to introduce you to him next time. Thank you for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn.